This episode is supported by the Earth Journalism Network. Hi, I'm Natasha Gutierrez. Thank you for coming on assignment with me. On this podcast, I take you with me behind the scenes of my investigations, assignments, and interviews. And today, I'm taking you to a place that is very close to my heart, one of my favorite places in the entire world, and the island where I got married. Siargao Island is a teardrop shaped island in southern Philippines, and it's widely known around the world for its surfing, beaches, and natural beauty. This island is fast becoming one of the most popular in Asia, but it's also being touted as the next Bali, not just because of its ability to draw international crowds, but because its rapid tourism growth and development have brought significant environmental pressures and sustainability challenges. The island is also facing major environmental issues caused by the climate crisis and corruption, and local communities are sounding the alarm. In this three-part series, Saving Siargao, we look at the environmental issues plaguing the Paradise Island and speak to the people who are fighting to save and protect it. Today, the second episode of the series, my assignment is to understand how mass tourism, including boats, snorkelers, and sunscreen chemicals, destroy crucial coral reef ecosystems and how the island's natural beauty is being compromised by pollution, habitat loss, and overcrowding. But first, do make sure you follow me on YouTube at Natasha_G. That's where you can watch the video podcasts. Follow me as well on social media at Natasha_G on Instagram, Facebook, X, and wherever else you spend your time, TikTok as well. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts on assignment with me, it helps me greatly if you can click follow or subscribe so that you're up to date with all my latest episodes. And if you'd like to support my work or learn more about what I do, go to natashagutierrez.com. That's my website. And up top on the right, you can see an option to be able to financially support this podcast. Everything I do here is independent and on my free time, so any help will be much appreciated. Let's get started. Our guest today is Chi Defino, a scuba diving enthusiast who's deeply passionate about reef conservation. She's the founder of Ocean Tribe Philippines, which offers diving courses in Siargao Island and raises funds to save coral reefs. So thank you for taking your time out of the water to be with me, Chi.
You're welcome. It's an honor.
Can you tell us how you first got into diving and why you fell in love with it?
Mhm. I first got into diving because I was a professional mermaid. There was a time and trend back then in Boracay where Philippine Mermaid Swimming Academy was popular to a lot of girls. Everyone wants to be a mermaid, and I was a mermaid teacher. So I was working as professional mermaid instructor, and then I opened my own mermaid school in Bohol. And in Bohol, it's quite known for diving. There's hundreds of people who goes diving every day, and I partnered with a dive center. And from there, I was teaching as a professional mermaid, but at the same time, I was invited if I'd want to try diving and become a professional dive master. Because at the time, there's just few female in the industry. It's male dominated industry. So for me, the first time I tried diving, I'm like, okay, this is a different world, and this is definitely something I'd want to continue moving forward, and I want to become professional in this career because being professional also means that I don't have to pay for my dives. I get paid for it. And at the same time, it becomes an opportunity for me to learn more. And so being underwater for the first time, I instantly fell in love with it because, being underwater, it's effortlessly beautiful. And it just captured me. Being underwater made me feel so peaceful, and it brought so much learnings for me, seeing new things, seeing new experience, seeing new species, and experiencing something not so common for humans.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's how I started.
that's amazing. And what is it about what you see underwater that is inspiring for you?
Mm, I learned a lot from seeing creatures underwater. It's like being underwater, I acquired a lot of wisdom, and this is something that that I can that I can apply in my life. For example, being underwater, when I encounter a new species or even species like corals, it makes me understand that they've been existing long before us. And that makes me humble as human.
Mm.
It makes me humble that, wow, we think we know so much, but we can learn so much through nature, through the ocean, through life underwater.
I love that. I love that. And it's just an entire world that so many of us don't even know about or even scratching the surface of. Yeah.
Have you tried
And
diving?
I have, and I have my license, but I've only ever done it once. I'm so
Uh-huh.
ashamed. I really want to go do it again, but I remember feeling really small,
Yes.
and feeling just so minuscule in this massive thing and making me realize how little I knew about the world.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I've done it a few times, but you're making me want to go back to it. And obviously, aside from being a diver, you're a very, very passionate coral reef conservationist. So,
Uh-huh.
what is it that you want people to know about coral reefs? Why should we care about them?
Yeah, so like what I mentioned earlier, coral reefs are ancient. They've been existing long before us, before humans, and long before dinosaurs. So they were able to survive mass extinctions. And yet they're still here. They are able to rebuild themselves. However, understanding corals as a diver, it makes me understand that they've been here long before us, but at the same time it takes time for them to grow. It takes hundreds of years for them to grow, but in a matter of seconds or minutes they can easily be damaged, they can easily be destroyed, and that damage is caused by us. We always think that there is an environmental issue, but the fact is there's so much human issue that we are the one causing the damage within this nature.
That's fascinating. I didn't realize they were older than dinosaurs. But it's also, yeah, it's pretty depressing. It's depressing that, like as you mentioned, it takes a couple seconds to destroy something that's been around for so long.
Exactly.
And what are the coral reefs in Siargao like?
The coral reefs in Siargao, they are still alive. Most people think that you only come to Siargao to surf, but below the waves, below the surface, it's alive. And they are reproducing, they're fighting to thrive. And in fact, last May 5th, 2026, the corals spawned. So they release their eggs, they release their sperm, and it all went to the surface, and then it forms a larva. And once it forms a larva, then there's a big chance for all these larvae to go again in the bottom of the ocean, and then they can form into baby corals. But that takes cycles and many years. And this massive coral spawning event only happens once a year.
Okay.
So the corals in Siargao are still alive, it's reproducing, and it's still fighting to thrive.
Okay. You moved to
Mhm.
Siargao in what year?
2018.
2018. So since then, 8 years ago, what
Mm-hmm.
impact have you seen mass tourism has had on Siargao's reefs? Because you mentioned that so much of the damage we think is just environmental, but it's actually man-made. What
Mm-hmm.
impact have you seen, or what changes have you seen?
So over the years, I have seen it's not only the mass tourism. There is already an existing damage that's been faced by the corals, including illegal fishing practices. So there's a lot of dynamite fishing that happened all throughout the years here. There was a time that dynamite fishing was a trend in Siargao, and that's a trend amongst the local people because it's very easy to make the product, and it's cheap, and that's how they can easily catch fish. And there's no law to there is a law, but it's not enforced. If they are caught, they will just go out, they can easily bail. So there's illegal fishing that's been existing for many years. It's not just dynamite fishing, there's also cyanide, there's also um, kind of traps that damages the coral reef. But for the mass tourism, from the way I see it, is the current problem right now is the anchor damage because there's more and more boats that goes out for island hopping, for surfing or for fishing, and there's no way for these boats to anchor properly. So they drop the anchor and then without realizing that there's another life underwater, and again in a second or a minute the corals that's been existing for hundreds of years gets damaged, and I've seen it through my eyes.
Mm.
Another problem that I've seen that's still occurring at the moment because of the mass tourism is garbages. So people are not aware of the garbage that's being brought to the coastal areas, especially if there's a strong current or if there's storm or big surges. Some coastal community are the ones affected by that because it doesn't mean that one area is there's high population. It doesn't mean the garbage stays there. The garbage will move because of current, because of the swell, because of the waves. So possibly, let's say General Luna is not the one suffering from that, but it can go to a different town. Um, I would just like to mention about sunscreen. So most people doesn't think that sunscreen doesn't really affect the ocean or the coral reef. But it does have an impact, especially when it's coral spawning season, because the coral spawn, or the male and the egg and the sperm, they all must go to the surface before they become larva.
Mm.
They have to float. And so if you imagine all those eggs and all those sperms, once they are in the surface and there's high concentration of chemicals from sunscreen, especially a chemical called sorry, I have to I don't want to make mistake with mentioning the chemical oxybenzone. So that's
Mm.
the harmful chemical that can kill the larvae of the coral.
Okay. Okay.
And if there's just imagine there's an area that there's a lot of swimmers, there's a lot of surfers, and all of them are using sunscreen at the same time. What is below the waves? It's corals.
Mm.
And all those corals that releases their eggs and their sperm that happens once a year, the chemical content of the sunscreen can kill the coral larva. So that's another issue that I am seeing. And the fact is, no one really sees what is happening so much underwater. We're
Right.
all very focused in land. We're all very focused on the surface, but we are all connected to it. So
Absolutely.
so
Like you
I
don't have to be a snorkeler, for example, to damage these
no,
coral reefs. Right.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so thank you for being able to speak out and to have the opportunity to speak for the corals.
No, of course. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. It's actually fascinating to me because I can see you and I can hear the island lives. There's construction. So for those listening to us in this podcast, that hammering is outside and that's just constant island life noise. So it's very authentic, but that's what it is. Uh, can you describe the worst damage you've seen and how did that make you feel?
I would like to talk about the recent damage that I have seen within the past months, where I feel like this must be talked about
Okay.
because there's not so many people talking about this yet. So an oil tanker ship ran aground in Burgos. Burgos is the northern part of Siargao Island. So it's not very touristic yet. We call Burgos like the old General Luna. So
Okay.
around January 11, 2026, the ship is still there. It ran aground because of engine failure. And it ran aground exactly to where the reef is. It's massive. It's a oil tanker.
Wow.
And this ship is uh, it cannot be pulled out anymore. Imagine from January and now it's May, mid-May, and it's still there. The people or the crew who was in that ship, they already left. But I'm surprised that there's not so much information or any plans coming from the government on what to do, or what are the precautions, or what are the programs, rehabilitations that we can do to rehabilitate the reef. Or what if this oil tanker or the gas from the ship will leak, and it will go to the coastal air, to the coastal community. It will kill a lot of fish, not only in Burgos, but a big part of Siargao, because there's current. And from where it was before, because it was Amihan when it ran aground, it already moved. It moved, I think, around 100 to 300 meters from where it was before, or possibly even bigger. I can only see it through my eyes, but we haven't done the proper measurement. And there's efforts from me as a diver, also another friend, marine biologist, who's concerned about the reef in that area, for us to do a survey so we can measure what are the damage that the coral reef has incurred. But there's not so much response. It's like they can already, it's like they already have a way to handle it. But I think the problem is bigger than that. You know, those coral reefs have been there for many years, and that's where locals gets their food, their livelihood. It's also a surfing spot. So it damaged the shape of a wave that people have been surfing for a long time.
Why hasn't the government done anything about it? Why hasn't it been moved? Why is it still there?
First of all, it's massive. So the way to pull it out from the reef, it will require another massive vessel to pull it out, and it will cost a lot of money. But the question is, who is liable for this? Are they going to allocate money for the rehabilitation of the coral reef for the people or the locals, the community that's affected by this? Because it's not a temporary problem, it's a long-term problem, and it can be bigger than what it looks like now if they don't do anything. And so far, I've checked the Facebook page of the LGU. I'm sure they have something in the background that they're possibly planning, but I'm not so well connected to them. However, I also saw that there's so many other issues that they are tackling at the moment, and so out of sight, out of mind, they don't really see it underwater, and so they don't know what is the bigger problem that can cause the the reef damage.
That's right. So, government officials, anyone who's listening to this podcast who could possibly help do something about this. This is something that's not very well known, but clearly, for you, Chi, you see it and you actually are underwater and you're sounding the alarm. You've just described how important coral reefs are. You've mentioned how it
Mm-hmm.
changes waves for surfers. And
Mm-hmm.
in some way, it could even change the tourism in that spot almost, if it's not addressed. So, hopefully, if anybody's listening who could help the situation, please reach out.
Yes, I really do hope they pay attention to the coral reefs because we are all connected to it.
Mm,
We eat fish.
right.
We we take so much from the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, you also mentioned accountability because we're ruining something that gives us a life source. And there, aside from this oil tanker, obviously this is one example you've given, but there's also been reports of resorts being built that have destroyed reefs on the island. How
Mhm.
does that make you feel? And do you think there are adequate protections or environmental standards that tourism infrastructure have to comply with? Is there accountability when they don't?
Mhm. So I do feel that it's sad, of course. I was a little angry about it on the beginning. Of course, now it calmed down. Um, so those resorts that have destroyed the reef, technically, I would consider it not the reef that is in the deep part. They have damaged the shoreline, and this shoreline is connected to the reef. This shoreline is also connected to the famous wave in Siargao, Cloud9. And if the shoreline and if the reef is damaged, that changes the shape of the wave because of the backwash. And so here in Siargao, I'm sure LGU and DNR, they have their ways to implement the laws. And in fact, I've attended one of the meetings when DNR have called for the community to be witness in the damage that was caused by some resorts that I know. And however, people who have money and power, the fact is, there's always a way out for them.
Yes, sadly.
And
Yes.
sadly, General Luna right now is attracting people who just comes here to do business without there's some of them, I'm not generalizing all, but some of them just come here to do business without regards to what's been existing here before. What's the community like? What can they share to the environment? It's more just like taking kind of mindset. And I guess in a developing, or I wouldn't even use the word develop because it's just progressing, the tourism is just rising and rising, and some people doesn't really need that, but I guess it's inevitable. um yeah, but my vision for all the businesses hopefully is to have the option to hopefully have a project that is designated for the community and for the
Mhm.
nature. They have a social responsibility that they have to connect. It's not just business. There's laws existing, but the enforcement is always a challenge. And I think the reason why it's deeper than our law, it's integrated in our system. And our system in our Philippines, it's not gonna in a year or two. I think it's really important that there's people who would constantly speak, or complain can be healthy at some point as long as there's always a solution. But I think we shouldn't be silent about problems happening in the island. We should always talk about a problem existing here right now, the changes that's been happening, but at the same time, be part of the solution.
Well, that's why we're so grateful that you're speaking as well, because so many people obviously love the island and surf their waves, but they aren't aware of what's actually happening underneath and the impact that all of that has. So thank you for speaking.
Mm.
We also discussed so much of man made impact on coral reefs. But what
Mhm.
impact have you seen the climate crisis have on the reefs? Because unfortunately, Siargao Island has experienced more frequent and severe tropical storms as well. Has that affected the reefs?
It does affected the reef. 5 years ago, I was diving in an area close to Naked Island. It's a marine sanctuary. However, after Odette, when I came back, the reef is not there anymore. And
Wow.
those coral reefs, they are fragile. They are called acropora, and they are easy to break. So they are very susceptible to getting damaged by big storms, by big waves. And it's sad because the place that I used to visit before, the place where I developed connection with fish that has grown there for many years, fishes that I've been visiting for years, in one dive, they're all dead. It's just like visiting a community that you used to love, and then suddenly it's wiped out. And yeah, these creatures or this marine life or all the beings underwater, they're vulnerable. And whether we like it or not, we have contribution to this damage.
Yeah, that must be heartbreaking seeing absolutely nothing left of it.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned solutions, but what
Mm-hmm.
are some ways visitors, locals, divers, how can we help or do our part to save coral reefs?
Mm-hmm. I would say support local businesses, especially businesses that has sustainable ways to contribute to the environment, businesses that has ways to reach out to the community and extend their knowledge, their skills and experience to the community. Because honestly, for me, being here in the island, living here in the island, I find it so beautiful that me as a new resident here, it's so beautiful to witness the local people being so content with the life they have. And at the same time, even before tourism, they are already living in the island and they were okay with it. But at the same time, they are open to accepting new knowledge and experiences coming from people like me who just moved in the island. And so there's a good exchange between the local people and the new resident that has come here. However, that's not the case for everyone. But I hope, and my message to those people who comes in the island has so much to offer, but don't just take. Look for something that you can contribute. Don't just be a tourist who does the usual thing. Like, you can learn so much from the island, and the nature here, the community here has so much to share or to teach you. But that's if you keep your eyes open and if you are sensitive to the local, to the nature, to the community, and be responsible. And as much as possible, educate yourself, ask questions, and connect to the community.
And could you talk a little bit more about what Ocean Tribe's been doing and how we can help your cause?
So Ocean Tribe is the dive center that I opened just 1.5 year ago, and my business came from a place of passion and came from a place of sense of responsibility because I would really love to talk about the coral reef and create projects that is dedicated for the corals. So one side of the business is offering fun dives, scuba diving courses, discovery dives. But on the other end, having the dive operations enables us to create projects, dive underwater, to do research underwater, to inform about the community, what is happening underwater, but at the same time offer solutions on how we can prevent anchors from damaging the coral reefs. So we have installed lines where boat and surfers can tie their line to, so they don't have to drop their anchor, because for every waves there's coral reefs beneath it. And the next project
Mm,
will be dedicated for the boats for the island hopping community.
it's wonderful. And can viewers and listeners also donate to that cause?
Yes, it's possible to donate. We actually do need help on that because the materials is quite expensive. But at the same time, I would like to keep the operations of my dive center sustainable. And for every mooring line that we install, it requires us to dive a lot, use boat, and as well as we need to use rope, permanent anchor, buoy. This is actually a solution that my vision is to start here in Siargao or be the pilot model and eventually make it all the way all throughout the Philippines, because Philippines is one of the countries we're surrounded by coral reef, and coral reef is not the entire world. We're in the coral triangle. So being the country that's abundant with coral reef, we need this kind of project because we've been using boats for many years, all our lives. But we've been constantly damaging the coral reef too. So I think this is a project that should be existing all throughout Philippines, but Siargao is the pilot model.
That's incredible. We wish you the best of luck.
Mhm.
That is something we'd love to support and see down the road. But thank you,
Mhm.
Chief, for your valuable time and for your effort in protecting not just Siargao's reefs, but hopefully the Philippines' reefs in the future. And thank you to the Earth Journalism Network for supporting this episode.
Mhm. Thank you, Natasha.